Welcome to another episode of Sports 360 Champion Speak. Our guest this week needs no introduction. The poster boy of Sri Lankan cricket for long, somebody who along with Kapil Dev and Imran Khan were the three Asian captains who changed the dynamics of the game to lead their team to World Cup glory. The man who was called Mr. Cool in cricket, somebody who has not let his weight but his actions on the field do the talking, Sri Lankan captain Arjuna Ranatunga, who is the only player in the history of the game to play in the first and 100th test of the island nation. Arjuna, as he is known to his friends, this week joining us for a freewheeling discussion on his 1996 World Cup journey. Arjuna, a pleasure having you here on the public broadcaster in India.
Thank you for having me here.
Two things that go hand in hand in your career, celebrations and controversies. Which part do you enjoy more, Arjuna?
I think both. I had the luxury to play for the country when I was very young. I was 18 when I was picked to play for Sri Lanka. And I went through I saw what happened to us when we started, the way people treated us, especially when you go to places like Australia or England. And then there was a change when it comes to India and Pakistan.
Okay.
And I was quite glad that I participated in the 83 World Cup, which India won. And suddenly I got a message from somewhere saying, if India can win, when are we going to win? Then came 91, 92, which Imran took the leadership to win a World Cup.
Okay.
So it was more like, then I realized like, oh, okay, India did, Pakistan did, then we are the next. So we worked on that, and I'm sure that was one ambition I had to see we can come to the top on the cricket map. Controversial part, I had to face a lot of issues, especially in Australia, and I knew that if we don't counter-attack, they will really push us to the ground, and which I didn't allow that to happen.
Was the 1996 World Cup winning team the most talented team, or did you feel that they had the commitment to excel and understood your vision that you had as a captain?
When I realized that they are so talented, they give a commitment.
Okay.
And I will always back them. And that's why I always say the 1996 cricket team is not the most talented cricket team we had. Apart from Aravind De Silva, Aravind could have got into any side at that time. And I still feel like, for me, he was one of the greatest I have ever played. I was so lucky that I could bat on the non-strikers and with him. So apart from him, all the other cricketers, like 13 of us, would be replaced by at least 2 to 3 guys.
Okay.
But when I picked the 13, I always told the selectors, give me 13 cricketers who will be committed to the country, committed to the team, committed to a task. That is where, like someone like Kumar Dharmasen, I always feel that he is one of the hardworking cricketers we had. Chaminda was, Murali was young. So we picked the guys who always had a vision, what I had. And what I believe, if they believe, I knew that I could take them to the next level.
Okay. Did you enjoy the charm of playing second fiddle? Did it work to the T? Or do you feel somewhere that Asian teams were subjected to many external factors when they toured abroad?
Oh, we did. When I can remember when we started in 80, I can remember we went to Australia in 84, 85. And so I saw the differences we went through. Like sometimes we stay in a lower class hotel, but they stay in a 5-star hotel. It has happened to all of us. I think most of the Asian countries had to face those. And then the umpiring issues were there, traveling issues were there. So as a kid, I knew what was happening. So by the time I got into the leadership or the captaincy, I fought even from with our cricket board. I started fighting with my cricket board. I always said that, no, we are not second to anyone. And that's the attitude I wanted to get into my cricketers' head, because we are a different kind of people. Like it's like we were brought up by our parents. Even now I'm 57 years still. I don't travel without go and see my mother and worship my mother. So that's the way we were brought up. We were protected by the parents. We were protected by our teachers. So we were more like a slow people who allowed anyone to do anything, which I didn't want that to happen. I always had to fight for things. Even my small days, I fought for things and got things done. And that's the exact thing I carried in my international cricket thing.
1996 World Cup triumph, did that preparation begin much earlier? You know, Sunil Gavaskar mentioned about India's journey for that 1983 World Cup triumph began way back in 1981. Did the preparations begin much earlier, as Arvinda led the team in the 1992 World Cup campaign? So there was a churning that happened, the captaincy armband shifted, and you had to lead a squad for the 1996 World Cup as co-host.
Yeah, I took over the captaincy. I was dropped. First I started captaining in '88. Then I was dropped in '91. Okay. The Pakistan winning World Cup, that is '91-92 World Cup. I did captain. Arvind was the captain. So when we came back, the cricket board called me and wanted me to take over the leadership, which I didn't want to do. I said, I'm quite happy playing as a batsman. Allow me to be comfortable. Then they insist that I had to come. Then I told them, okay, if you want me to come in, I need to have a plan. I'll come back in a day or two. I'll tell you what I need. You allow me to do that. On my terms, I'll take over the captaincy. Okay. So I had to convince them what I want. I said, if you allow me to captain till '96, till the World Cup, with my plan, I will give you a plan and then allow me to do it. Then they didn't agree. And then I said, I'm not interested. Then they had to convince me with my conditions. And then, tell you honestly, somewhere in '94, I picked something like 20 cricketers. Okay. We had about 30 cricketers in the surroundings, but I picked 20 cricketers. Out of that, for the 14, the only one who came from outside was Mavan Adapat. Okay. He was getting runs in the last couple of like 94, 95. He was getting a lot of runs. So we looked at my team, and I knew that we had a lot of batting, but we couldn't replace Asanga Guru Singh if something happens to Asanga Guru Singh. So that is where Mavan Adapat got into the first 14. So it was like, I will say about 18 months to 20, I'll say 2 years we worked on the same players, had a different plan. We went to Sharjah in '84, got Sanat Jayasuriya to open, then when 95 too, I got Kalu to open with Sanat, because I knew that if we want to win a World Cup or to get into the, I'll say semi-finals or finals, which we haven't done at that time, we needed to create something new. Okay. So I'm sure that you can remember when we were playing one-day cricket, it was more like first 15 overs without losing, we could get about 50 runs. So I knew that if we are going to go into the same procedure, same plan, we won't be able to go very fast. So we created two guys. The target was Sanat's and Kalu's target was to get me 100 runs in the first 15 overs. And even if it fails, then I knew that Guru Singh can anchor the innings. Then we had Aravind. We always kept Aravind very happy, and we allowed him to do whatever he wants. We never pressurized him in his batting. Then I was batting at 5. Mahanama was batting at 6. Ashanti Lagnath was batting at 7. So three of us had to manipulate things. So Guru Singh the anchorman, Aravind the happy man. Three of us are the suffering people. So it worked really well for us.
Well, India, Sri Lanka and Pakistan co-host for the 1996 World Cup. Do you feel the way it began, it was a no hope in hell kind of a position for the island nation as co-hosts? When did you actually smell an opportunity to win the World Cup, or at least reaching the semi-finals?
When I started, we felt that my target was to get into a semi-final. Okay. The day I realized, I always thought that we can go beyond semi-finals, but I wanted the team to know that they are good enough to go and win a World Cup. Okay. That happened in Delhi when we beat India in the first round game. We were chasing something like 260, 270.
271.
271. That's the day I can remember Ravindra Pushpakumar and Upul Chandan. After the game, we went back to the hotel. So we got together in my room, and then somewhere like after having a meeting, Upul Chandan and Ravindra Kushakumar and Mavan Atupattu, the three juniors came to me and said, the way we are playing, we can win this World Cup. So then I realized, okay, the message has gone. That is something I was trying to do for the last couple of months. So then only we all realized, okay, you can beat India, coming to India, chase something like 270 after losing Aravinda very quickly. Still, Hashan came and got runs. So it was more like a team thing we had.
Okay.
And then the message went to all 14 of us saying, go match by match, but look at the longer picture.
The semi-final in Eden Gardens, against India, batting first on that track. And now, in hindsight, when one looks at that wicket and what transpired when India batted, do you feel if you had batted second, the Demons the wicket through could have left you with that same fate?
It might have been. It might. I was so lucky that I lost the toss. Still, honestly, we were planning to field first. That was the strength we had, and Aravind was very concerned about batting first. But like it now, I can remember when Sachin and Manchirika was batting. There were no demons on that wicket.
Oh.
When Sachin got out, only started turning. So it can happen to any team. It is not the wicket part. It is the way that particular player was playing. When Sachin was playing, like it was more like for me to keep them tight. That's the only thing I had. I knew that we need one wicket. That was Tendulkar out. Then it should have been a different story. So apparently it's the same thing happened to us. And as soon as Sachin got out, and the wicket started turning, jumping, and the bowlers were on top. So it was more like outsiders saw it was a different wicket. It was not the different wicket. It's the way the spinners were handled by Sachin, and the spinners were handled by the other cricketers.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, the pressure went into someone like even Asruddin. I always say that he was one of the best captains I played with, and even for someone like Asruddin to play in front of almost 100,000 people might have had pressure onto him. Otherwise, he will never play a shot like what he did. So it was more like whoever who comes in had to score runs, play shots, Indian pressure, home pressure, everything went into him. And even if he batted secondly, I might say someone like Aravinda might have changed the game.
Okay.
We might have lost. So I always say that you need little bit of luck here and there to win a World Cup. Like it doesn't happen, it doesn't come overnight, or you can be the best side, but if you don't have little luck, those things can happen and you are out of the tournament.
Well, going into that final in Lahore, Australia and West Indies refused to travel to Sri Lanka citing security reasons. And did that desire to excel, somewhere compound into a must-win at all costs kind of a final in Lahore?
No, I was very glad that India and Pakistan brought a team to Sri Lanka to start with, to show that we don't have a problem in our country.
Exactly.
After that, everyone knows that we had a terrorist problem in the country, but it was very well protected. And we gave the assurance, even the president of the country, Mrs. Chandrika Bandaran and Kumartunga gave assurance that the protection was there. To prove the others, India and Pakistan got us a mixed side, and we played a game to show the world that it is safe. Then still, Australians and the West Indies pulled out. And tell you honestly, I was the happiest guy because I was having 4 points in my table. So I knew that like you beat Kenya, you are in the semi-finals. And that was the target I had. So I was not bothered whether Australians are coming and cricket fans were very disappointed, but I was not. Tell you honestly, my target was to jump into the semi-finals. I had to win one game against either Kenya or Zimbabwe. We were not looking at winning against India.
Okay.
So we beat India, we beat Kenya, and we beat Zimbabwe, and we hit the top. Okay. And then when we came to the finals, I felt that they were under a lot of pressure, and we were not. I never allowed the players to think about a final till I did the toss. And we had discussions, we had plans, but we had nothing to lose. It's all about Australian had everything to lose because they were champions. They were supposed to be the best side. But unfortunately, I thought we played much better cricket. We had a better plan. We planned properly, and we did a lot of new things. Like none of the World Cup teams will never bat second, but we played for our strength rather than the. We never looked at the history. We looked at our strength and played for our strength.
Well, one of the first teams to chase and win a World Cup cricket final. Where did that decision come about? You did speak to Imran Khan before the final because he knew that Lahore wicket in and out. And how did that call come about? You know, considering that it was never before tried in World Cup history, chasing in the final.
No, it was more like we were chasing pretty well. Like we were chasing 290 to 80, even 300 we chased. So we knew our strength was chasing. Then luckily, we had 3 days practice in Lahore, which we realized the dew factor will be another issue, which I'm sure that Australians were not very concerned about it. But we were concerned because we had 4 spinners to play with. I had 2 medium fast bowlers with Vas and Pramod Vikramasinghe. So I can remember the day before the finals, we had an official dinner, and while we were enjoying the dinner, I had to take a cab with Dilip Mendes. We went to the grounds to see whether the dew factor was on the ground that day, and we realized we had to bowl first to contain them, and we had a very strong batting line up to chase. And I can remember when I walked into the toss, Imran came and wished me and said, "It's a very good batting track. You should bat first. Get 260 to 70, you can win the game." Then I had already had plans. Arvind was one guy who wanted to bat, but all the others were keen on batting second. So it was more like a confusion coming into a finals. The guy who won the World Cup prior tell me to bat first. Then I looked at my manager, who was Dilip Mendes, luckily, and I looked at him and I told Dilip, I said, Dilip, Imran says to bat first. Then he got confused. Then I said, no, let's forget it. We have our plan, stick to the plan. Either we are number 1 or 2. Just enjoy the day.
Well, you had a coach in Dave Atmore who helped the team immensely, but I recently led an exact opposite thought that you had about Sri Lanka having better local talent to coach the national team over foreign coaches. Do you believe that local coaches bring more to the table, especially when it comes to coaches from foreign soil?
Yeah, Dev was not a proper foreign coach. He was born here, but brought up in Australia. But I'm a great believer. I don't believe in foreign coaching. I feel that we have a lot of coaches. We don't allow them to mature properly. We don't allow them to. We don't recognize them properly. Now, the best example is someone like Mahela Javadhan, who is coaching Mumbai Indians. And, I rate him as a very top coach. And Sri Lanka cricket look at outsiders, which I don't agree. And we have a lot of capacity like Aravinda De Silva, Mahanamas, Dilip Mendes. We have people who can handle that, but we have this tendency where we love to have foreign people to run things in this country. That must be the colonial system we still go through. I'm sure that in our blood we must be having this colonial issue where we prefer to have outsiders rather than our own people. So I'm a great believer. Even now, I feel that I even if I get a chance to get to the board, I'll say, let us have our own coaches. Take India. Having a physiotherapy, I say that we should get someone from outside because they are experts on that. Now take Indian cricket. It has changed when Ravi Shastri came into the scene, he being a respected cricketer. And that's exactly we need in our country, which our officials or the cricket board doesn't realize. And it's so unfortunate. That helped us on organizing a lot of things. The key factor winning the World Cup was our fitness, which was done by Alex Contour. So we had a lovely combination, and Dilip Mendes was the chairman selection committee plus the manager. So with the 14 guys, we used to blend. The other 3 used to blend with us properly. So we have our discussions, we have our arguments, we have our differences. We had huge arguments, but still, sake of the country, sake of the team, we come to understanding.
Well, talking about that final once again, taking you back. Did you somewhere manage to get under the Aussie skins in the 1996 World Cup final with the banter before the final? How did that come about, tearing into the Walk brothers and even calling Shane Warne, ordinary then? Was it more of mind games that had a bigger role to play before that final in Lahore?
I think I was helped by one of the Indian media guys, a very dear friend of mine. I don't want to mention the name, but he came and told me, "Hey, Arjuna, you can win this game, but put a lot of pressure on them." So I asked him what we can do. No, say something about the about some Australian cricketers. So I started not that attack. I know that Shane Warne is a brilliant cricketer, brilliant bowler, and the same guy asked me the question in the like about 200 press guys were there. He asked me a question about Shane Warne, and I said he's a very ordinary bowler and highly overrated. And I told about the War brothers the same thing. I know that they are good cricketers, and he hit them properly because I can remember when I walked into bat, we had to get about 90, 100 runs to win the game, and I could see the Australians were after me. And then I realized that they started playing the finals. Most probably 24 hours before we started the game. And I never allowed that to happen to my side. I said, wait till I do the toss, then we start. Okay. And it's all about absorbing pressure, how to release the pressure. And I thought Australians were under tremendous pressure playing this game. And I think the comment I made might have affected them as well.
Arjuna, you rarely hit a six in one-day cricket, but you hit one in the 1996 World Cup final where you sent Shane Warne out of the park. Was it more to do with aggression, or did you want to rub in what was mentioned in that pre-final presser where you called Shane Warne ordinary?
No, it was the latter part. I think before I played Warne, Guru Singh hit him for a straight six.
Yeah.
So it was the message given actually to the dressing room by Guru Singh, who is not a great batsman against spin.
True.
And I was supposed to be myself and Arvind were the two batters. They reckoned that play spin well, but someone like Assam Guru Singh is not the best bat who could hit a six and a couple of fours. Then we realized that he is not performing that particular day, and he was struggling with the wet ball. But everything went for us at that day.
Well, moving on, did that World Cup triumph change the fortunes of Sri Lankan cricket in a good way, or did it bring its share of evils?
Good and bad both.
Okay.
I'll talk about the good things. Good thing was the entire country wanted to play cricket. Every child wanted to play for Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Because you could see suddenly on the road, even the paddy fields, small areas, everyone started playing cricket. Even the parents were looking at pushing their children to play cricket rather than doing anything else. That was the best thing happened. The bad part was the all unwanted corrupt guys got involved in cricket administration. That is where we struggle now. The guys who have been running cricket, apart from the interim, we used to have interim committees where elected bodies are taken out by the sports minister, put an interim committee. I headed the interim committee in 2008 for about 11 months. And if you analyze our cricket history, through the interim committees, we have done lots of I will say productivity.
Okay.
Not only that, get cricket into we won a World Cup in 2020 World Cup in 2008, if I'm right, when we had an interim committee. We won an Asia Cup when we had an interim committee. We were doing very badly when we have an elected body. So those are the issues we have been addressing. I have been addressing this for the last 20 years. Whoever who comes in as the sports minister doesn't realize the corruption issues we have in the cricket board and the mafia we have in the cricket board.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Democracy is the number one thing, but cricket democracy, go for a vote, and if you think that we can get cricket right in this country, it will never happen.
Well, somewhere in Lankan cricket, the political climate has a large influence to the way, or in the way cricket is run in that island nation. Do you feel so?
Tell you honestly, my days they never interfered into any issues.
Okay.
The politicians, starting from the president to the sports minister, never interfered in cricket. I know last couple of years it has happened, and even now it can be happening. But overall, my days I never allowed anyone to walk into my circle because my father being a political, like he was a minister in the government, but he never interfered into, no, none of the ministers interfered into the cricket thing. They allowed us to play cricket, and even the administration run by very, very, very prominent people at the early stages. Only after 96, the money started coming in, then it has become a business rather than a game anymore.
Now, when you look at Sri Lankan cricket, what are the reasons for the struggle? You know, Sri Lanka, why are they struggling, you know, to put that world-class team together?
I will say bad administration. That's the same thing we touched in the earlier question. I think the wrong people running cricket. And I will say, as talent, I still feel that we are a very talented cricketing nation. Even these guys who are playing, I personally feel that their commitment is not good enough. Their discipline is not good enough. And if you get those things right, I'm sure that it won't be very far that we will go to the top. So you need to have a proper change. You need the administration to be proper. Then you need proper management in the cricket team where disciplined cricketers guide them properly. I'm sure that they must be having plans and everything must be getting pretty well. But overall, if you get these areas right, I'm sure that it won't be very far. It will take a couple of months. I will say at least 6 to 8 months to get it right.
Sri Lanka as a cricketing nation rose to prominence in the 90s due to a litany of amazing cricketers who, through their exploits, took the island nations to the pinnacle of world cricket. From beating India in 1979, being labelled an upset, to lifting the World Cup in 1996, the Lankans have transitioned phenomenally. And several catalysts were involved in this spectacular rise. Hasan Tilakaratne, Muthaiya Muralidharan, Sanath Jayasuriya and Arvinda De Silva were critical elements of this team. But it was the leader who showed the way, Arjuna Ranatunga. The self-same leader had a distinguished place in Sri Lankan cricketing history now. And we are going to be back next week with the Sri Lankan captain as he talks about cricket, politics and life beyond cricket. Until then, you take good care of yourself and stay safe and healthy. Bye for now.